Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, where we help you make the wisest and most profitable decisions. As always, my name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. I'm the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts, the future of work consultancy that sponsors the Wise Decision Maker Show. Today with me is Cesar Carvalho, who is the CEO of Gympass. We'll find out about Gympass later. But first, Cesar, I wanted to ask you about specifically well-being for remote workers and how it compares to in-office workers and hybrid ones. I know you just put out a report on well-being, and I want to learn a little bit more about the difference between remote workers, hybrid workers who are there in the office occasionally, and in-office workers and how they experience well-being.
Well, very good, Gleb. Thank you so much for hosting me. It's a pleasure to be here with you, especially discussing such an important topic. And like the question is very interesting, what's the state of well-being for different types of workers? The reality and the data of this research that we did has shown is that we're in a crisis of well-being, and it's a crisis that's affecting everyone, people that are working remotely and also people that are working in person in different offices and etc. And the results are alarming, I would say. People are disengaged. 60% of the employees say that they're disengaged at work, and 20% share that they feel miserable at work. And I think the separation between people that are working at the office versus remote, it puts some light on something that we have seen already in the past, which is like that this relationship between life and work before, it used to be more compartmentalized. Like there were people that said, no, I'm trying to strive this balance between my life and my work. And what we're seeing is for those that have gone on hybrid or remote, the lines are much more blurred now than they were before. So it's equally concerning, but the elements are somewhat different between the two. And to me, that is a very important topic for us to discuss and double click here.
Yes, definitely. I'd like to learn a little bit more about how to help with well-being of people who are in the office, fully office-centric, Monday, 9 to 5, people who are in the office occasionally, 1-2 days in the office, 3 days, and fully remote workers. Let's dive into that and tell me about each group and how to best support their well-being.
Very good. So to start with, I believe that everyone, regardless of their time, they have different needs, right? So there are folks that see well-being as like being physically active. There are folks that see well-being as being close to their loved ones. And there are also folks who see well-being as like driving meaning from the work that they're doing every single day and building great relationships no matter where they are. So let's dive into the differences. For people that are working from 9 to 5 at the office and then are commuting back home for like every single night and then for the weekends, it's really, really important to make sure that they have access to well-being resources that can be used either on the way on the commute to work or right after work. So it's very important to find, for an example, for physical activity partners, for gyms, studios, classes. It's very important to have classes in those locations, but also to have classes where people live so they can go if they're significant others and potentially exercise on weekends as well. The other part is that for those folks, life is more compartmentalized still. Like you have your life at work, you have your life at home. But for what happens after 9, like it's still a little bit blurry, and that's where this group is gonna mix with folks that are still on a hybrid routine. But my view is for folks that are at the office,
Mhm.
the companies do need to look at the communities around the office. They do need to look at the time spent commuting and for what the experiences are at the workplace specifically.
Okay.
For people that are on a hybrid schedule,
Yeah.
I think the secret is making sure that every time someone's heading to the office, it is for a specific purpose, and that you're
Mhm.
gathering all the resources that that person needs to be effective at the time that they're there.
Mm.
It makes no sense to have people be at the office 3 days per week if people are going on different times and teams are
Sure.
not taking the time to meet and collaborate. And then for those, the importance of group activities is even higher. So
Mm.
making sure that for the 3 days, you're making those 3 days really, really meaningful in nature. You're having people invest time not only to work together, but also to build those relationships and potentially, do an activity together, like
Mhm.
discuss and etc. So I think there's a lot there. For the
Okay.
fully remote workers, that's to me where the most challenging situation is, and
Mm.
mostly because companies are still learning
Mhm.
how to manage it. And everyone, I think, believes the future of work is more remote than in person, is
Mhm.
more hybrid than in person.
Yeah.
The problem is getting there, right? The
Mhm.
problem is the present. And to me, I think companies for remote workers thinking about their well-being is where they need to be really, really thoughtful about what are the processes we're going to put around the work-life balance for those
Mhm.
employees, and how we're going to make sure, like that, even though they're not connected to the office, that we're still building culture, that we're still
Mhm.
showing them the meaning in what they're doing, and that we're still providing the same level of benefits that, for an example, an in-company gym could get, that an
Mhm.
in-company meditation room could bring to the employees, that we're bringing those examples also to
Mm.
people that are geographically spread. And
Mm.
that to me shines light on, like, what are the benefits for this new reality? What are the type of things that we can bring from a well-being point of view to
Mhm.
folks that are spread all over the place?
Yeah, definitely very important to do social activities with remote workers. So something that I help my clients do transitioning to permanent post-work arrangements is arrange some activities that are going to be including remote workers. So for example, virtual escape rooms or some other fun social activities, gaming, various, Fortnite, whatever people like to do that include people who are going to be fully remote. What are other kinds of activities, social activities, that are going to be inclusive of people who are fully remote that would facilitate their well-being?
Yeah. So to me, you can call it, I think it's still social, but it's not necessarily connecting employees with other employees on a remote basis, but giving those remote employees the tools to get immersed
Hmm.
on their local communities with their family members in a meaningful
Okay.
way. So think about this, like on the physical activity space, there are more than 2,000 different types of activities.
Mhm.
There's yoga, there's the regular gym, there are 50 different types of yoga, actually. There's Pilates,
Sure.
pickleballs growing super fast, and etc.
Yeah,
And,
it's a fun game.
and it's a fun game, and it's like Netflix, and there are many series coming every time, and
Mhm.
then new episodes, and people get excited about trying those different things.
Yeah.
And the employee base of companies these days are getting more and more diverse, right? And people have different tastes. And
Yeah.
as an employer, making sure you're making available to those employees all the possible resources for them to
Mhm.
pick and choose and try what's
Mm.
best for them and what works best for that local community. And making sure you're incentivizing this as much as possible by including the family members and giving people
Mhm.
time to do those things makes a huge difference. What
Mm.
we see from some of the clients that we work with is that companies that have 2,000 employees, they see those 2,000 employees visiting 5,000 different partners. So more than 2 partners per employee every single month. And that's magical because it really meets their employees wherever they are and with the activities they would most like to do, you know?
Yeah. Well, let's go in depth into a case study that you know yourself, Gympass itself, the company. Tell me a little bit more about what you do for your employees, because I'm sure it's a best practice for what others should do for their employees. How do you support your employees who are coming in? I don't know what your structure is, hybrid, remote, office-centric. How do you support different employees in different categories? What do you specifically do?
Very good. We're a remote first company. And because we're a global company, we have offices in 11 countries. We were doing conference calls even when we were office centric before the pandemic. So it would be a normal day for a leader to go into the office and spend 70% of the time in conference calls with people from other countries. And to us, I think we made a commitment as a company to be the best company on the well-being space for employees, and we try to exercise well-being for our employees in 4 different dimensions. There's one dimension which is providing them with all the tools for them to reach better well-being. We subsidize access to 10,000 different gyms and studios in the US. We subsidize access to more than 30 different well-being apps to our employees, and we give a wellness coach to every single employee who wants to receive guidance on how to better explore their well-being journey with their family members, no matter where they are. To me, we do it out of altruism, but also out of business interest. It's great for the business to have people active at a great state of well-being. It helps our bottom line. It helps with engagement. It helps with to reduce turnover, and I can talk more about that as well. But that's the first principle. The second principle is we want people to be productive at work. We don't want them to be spending hours and hours in unproductive meetings and not be contributing meaningfully to the mission of the company. And then we created what we call the Gympass operating system, which kind of regulates how people engage in different initiatives and what types of calls and initiatives people should participate on. And to me, the main purpose there is to making sure that, one, we are delegating activities properly to teams, and we're empowering people to make the decision and to control the destiny of that specific initiative going forward. Third piece is we are doing a ton of training, because well-being is mostly seen as a benefit, but to me, well-being is the exercise of leadership. And we're training leaders on how to create a culture of well-being as they're managing their teams on a day-to-day basis. A few tips: letting people take breaks from time to time, doing checkpoints from time to time to see how people are doing, and of course, having the flexibility to potentially let people take a day off, and etc. Third, giving feedback to people, helping them develop along the way, and making sure that you're being mindful and purposeful on creating the development opportunities for every single person in your team. So a lot of investment in people. And the fourth one is when we do in person, we're very intentional about what we do together as a team. We're encouraging every single team to meet in person at least once per quarter. And the idea is not to discuss the business when we meet in person. The idea is to build bonds, is to connect, is to build empathy, is to talk about what worked well and not worked well, because we don't want any decision to wait until that specific moment.
Sure.
We want to operate as efficiently as possible once we break from that specifically gathering, and then pushing back, and people are working back remote. So if you look at those 4 things, the structure that we had to have in place to enable all of it was a very strong network of strategic HR business partners for every single manager and leader at the company. And in a way that we're proactively managing people's well-being, and it's linked even on how productive, effective we are in delegating work and letting people be have autonomy on making the right decisions.
Let's circle back to number one, the numbers, the business case. I saw from your report that 85% of employees reported they would have better retention if employers cared about their well-being. Tell me a little bit more about the business case for well-being by the numbers according to your report, but other things as well that you find.
That's very good. So to me, the first thing is this huge number of people that are saying that well-being is really, really important for them when deciding to stay at a given company. And I think what people are realizing is that because life and work are blurred, and since you spend so many hours, we spend so many hours working every single day, that if that component of well-being is not there, like almost it's like nothing else matters, you know? And to me, that's shining light on the importance of well-being to everyone, and how critical it is for companies to tackle those challenges head on. The second thing is regarding salary. 4 out of 5 employees said that well-being is as important as salary for them on a day-to-day basis. And that surprised me a lot, because I would have guessed like that it would have been a much lower percentage, you know. And to me, this is a thing that like is the silver bullet that like CEOs, leaders, board members are not tapping into yet. Everyone's thinking about the salary bands, if people are where people are compared to the market. People look at salaries to measure their career progress. They looked at salaries to measure their career progress. There's legislation talking about transparency of pay these days, but we're actually not talking at all about which companies are great at well-being for their employees and which companies are not. There are many technology companies that are helping employees find out like what companies are paying for different roles and etc. No one's talking about which companies are great at well-being, which leaders are great at well-being. And they should be. Right? And I think this is a huge opportunity for differentiation in the future. And companies that try to embrace this sooner, they will benefit from a significant period of competitive advantage. But then let's talk about the case of well-being. You know, companies that invest in well-being for their employees, they get to triple the number of active people they have in their company and engaged people. That has a direct implication for retention. We have seen that employees that are at a great state of well-being are 40% more likely to stay at their current employer. And there's a huge cost around hiring more people, ramping them up, training them for them to get up to speed. And make no mistake, everyone hates losing great talent, right?
Sure.
The second thing is on healthcare costs. People who are active, who exercise once per week, they spend on average 25% less on healthcare than people who are not active. There's a clear bottom line impact there. And in addition to those, like the number of sick days you take, the better decisions you make by being in a great state of well-being and not tired, burned out, or depressed, you know, like it's something no one questions. You know, like if well-being was a pill, and by taking it every day, you would be at a great state of well-being, everyone would take that pill every single day.
Sure.
And while there is no pill, there are a set of practices that every single company can implement to have similar effects. And those effects are worth it.
Now, can you tell us about Gympass itself, how your company can help other companies facilitate the well-being of their employees? What do you do, in other words?
Very good. So we're a technology platform that is creating a benefit that's connecting the employees of our clients to thousands of gyms, studios, apps, trainers, all over the US and in 10 other countries. And the principle is that by combining all those different well-being resources by combining a meditation app with the gym next door, with a studio class, and with a wellness coach to guide you through this well-being journey. And by making the price of that service be half of what the price would be for someone to just go and use one of those partners, that we can dramatically increase the number of active people within the population of our clients. And by having many more active people at a great state of well-being, we get all the positive effects that we talked about here. So I created Gympass 10 years ago, and I have been signing gyms, studios, apps to make sure that we have a state-of-the-art platform for every single employee to use. And the best thing for companies is that there is a product for everyone. Like, there are free well-being apps. There are gyms, studios that are included in a plan that costs just $10. It's accessible to everyone and includes gyms, studios that would normally cost $40. So 4 times more than what the employees are actually paying. But like, to people who want it, there is access to super premium gyms, boutique studios, one-on-one personal training sessions as well. The principle is the same. Bundling all those different services in one single membership that would cost always 50% less than the price of a single partner. What I'm passionate about is serving everyone and making sure that our clients are getting access to all these partners, no matter what the new fitness trend is. When Zumba was the biggest thing, we had all the Zumba studios, all the Zumba classes on our platform. We still have them. And then everyone was talking about CrossFit. Our clients got immediate access to all the CrossFit studios as they were growing. And then pickleball now is a big thing. And then we're adding the platform. So the benefit keeps improving over time because we keep adding better partners for every single employee to use.
Excellent. All right. This was a lovely conversation. Is there anything else that you haven't yet shared that you think our audience would value knowing about well-being, about Gympass, anything that we've discussed?
Yeah, so the only thing to emphasize is that there is this myth of trying to pursue work-life balance as if work and life were separate things that are competing against each other, at odds against each other. And that what we have seen, and the pandemic has only accelerated it, and the more the hybrid work and the more remote first workers exist, like the more they accelerate this trend, is that those two are connected. And what companies should strive for is not to guide their employees to have better work-life balance and investing on work places, work benefits. What companies should be doing is looking at work-life wellness and how can you bring great well-being for people no matter where they are, and not separating one or the other, because that's how we're going to get real engagement, and that's how we're going to change the game in terms of getting employees engaged and happy and healthy.
So that's a wonderful note to end on. Thank you very much, Cesar. It was a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you, Gleb. Pleasure was mine.
All right, everyone. And I hope you, the listeners and viewers, have enjoyed this episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. As always, make sure to leave a review to help other people discover the show and to help us have the valuable feedback we need to improve the show. And make sure you subscribe to the show wherever you check this out. And please tell your family and friends. It's always valuable to help them discover the show. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. In the meantime, the wisest and most profitable decisions to you, my friends.